Hi, and welcome to the Ada K Show. I am Ada K. Brown, and am currently a criminal justice major, and I'm a deaf courtroom commentator. Grab a cup of Java, and let's dive in. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Half day. We're half day in court today. Thank you, dear Jesus. We needed a half day. No, actually, we need to get this moving. We need to be like on this and done. This is day 23, I believe, and we're still on the cave in chief with the prosecution. I want to give a huge shout out to my first in chat. Could have been Gerald, but no, he didn't do it last night. I preset it, told him to hop in first. No, it's Aaron, Lady J, Lady Jane, and June are the first three in chat. Welcome, Ronnie, one sunny day. Where's my honey boo? Okay. I have posted the bingo card. I got to get mine up. I totally forgot to do it. Posted it, forgot to do it. Yes. Okay. Got my bingo card. The bingo card today has the following. Would you agree, Judge, twisting or flinging her glasses? Sidebar. Drone shot of area reports. Yes or no? Trip, 3-point turn, reverse, John O'Keefe SUV. Confirmation bias, strike the last methodology. Goat scream. Yes. No, don't mark it. It's an example, so you know what to look for. Correct center mass math. Finish your answer. Lexus SUV. Not a trick question. Bias. Let him finish. And data. That is our bingo card for today. Yes, I know you're next door, baby. I've got something funny to show y'all. And I'll tell you who posted this later. Hopefully you can hear this.
Welcome to the shit show.
Your name, sir? Just figured we should meet before you dismantled my entire testimony.
This guy's gonna get dissected like a frog.
Why are you covered in blue paint?
Oh boy.
Why are you wearing clothing that matches the victim?
I love cosplay. There was no dog in the fight.
Was that dog by chance named Chloe?
VP of Apparature?
Yeah,
How much did this paint cost?
almost $500,000. I try my best to get correct data.
This just in. Trying now qualifies as expert analysis.
I've got no dog in the fight.
Except for Chloe.
And your brand new Lexus.
Adios, mother effers. I have a Lexus to enjoy.
Welcome to the shit show.
Who gave us that? Who gave us that? Who sent me that? That's what I want.
Could you please turn that?
Welcome to the
Case One sent that to us. Thank you, Case One. That was brilliant. I don't know who did that, created that, but it sounds about right. You got that right. Yep. Yep. Good morning, Miss Ronnie. You know, it was a shite show in back office yesterday too. It wasn't just today. It wasn't just court. Um, luckily y'all don't know when we're struggling, but sometimes we have uh, a shit show going on here in the back office. It was not fun. But I have to say, mods, you were freaking amazing. And appreciate everything you do more than I can share. I sometimes hate the way that words feel so empty, but it is true. I'm cleaning up my Discord. There's a lot of stuff that's just popped up that I don't need to see in Discord. Here we go to my Discord mod chat. We will be covering both trials. Unfortunately, I don't like to do it, but I'm going to have to. Lori Vallow will be covered in the afternoon after the Lori Reed. And the late. So today is the beginning of jury selection for Lori Vallow Day Bail. And then next week, I think they're thinking possibly Monday. Or sometime next week will be the opening statements, and we'll go from there. It is a juckle sometimes, but I'm invested in the Lori Vallow debut. I'm ashamed to say it, but we'll do both. I'm excited because our streaming platform has added a few things like Q&A time. Oh, please like and subscribe. Breaking news. And thank you. They've added a whole bunch more stuff, but for me, that's where we is. And today is Happy National Paperclip Day. Paperclip Day. Yep. Paperclip. Oh, what would we do without paper clips? And we still have on the death Justin Welcher and the defense said yesterday that they are barely halfway through their cross in chief. Good morning, Miss Morales. Y'all, please share. And when you do put I shared, so I can get you guys included in the drawing, which is what I didn't do last night. Get it going. I shared. Use kind, use smart, use important. So here, if I apply it to what I'm doing, you shared, you liked, you bingoed. I bingo. Okay, the counters are up and going, guys. Yahoo! We got it. I gotta get my bingo card over there. All right, we're ready for court. Thank Desiree. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I got my little background going. I'm a hoe, in my humble opinion. I got a little bored, changed the background a little bit. This is a standard platform from the program itself, but I created that one and that one, that one, that one, that one. I like the gel and gel with blood. I don't use those very often.
You are
Somebody got
unmuted.
mad at me. All right, guys, here we go. Auntie Bev is stomping into the room.
Now opening meeting seated.
Oh, there's the
good
heavy
morning,
breathing.
Council. Good morning, Ms.
You need to put the heavy breathing on the next bingo card, June, if you like.
Reed. And all right, Mr. Lessie, I will hear you on your argument on the voir dire.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm just loading up my computer. Your Honor, I am going to address the Trooper Paul aspect, and then I'm going to address the Dr. Scorty Bello aspect of Dr. Welcher. With regard to Trooper Paul, I would like to draw the court's attention to the following documents for the straightforward proposition that Dr. Welcher has not only reviewed, he has not only considered, that he has adopted. I went back and looked at the documents, and the basis for this is follows. Slides 22 and 23 do not just depict Trooper Joseph Paul himself. They show Trooper Paul conducting the CARS analysis on February 1st of 2022. Importantly, these slides highlight the mileage odometer of 12,665, and I respectfully request the court to anchor into that odometer reading, because I'm going to show the path that that odometer reading takes through all of the documents, but I want to emphasize the start, the genesis of the odometer reading of 12,665 miles is with Trooper Paul as he conducted the CARS analysis on February 1st. Now, here's where Dr. Welcher comes in. Dr. Welcher then uses this key data point, odometer 12,665, as the basis, the starting point for his determination of the locations and times for the events of January 29 of 2022. Dr. Welcher uses his scenario analysis of Miss Reed's travels, and that's detailed on slides 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28 to calculate and then deduct 36 miles from the odometer according to Trooper Paul on February 1st of 2022 to arrive at an odometer reading of 12,629, which obviously is different from the start, the anchor I talked about of 12,665. So the assumed odometer of 12,629, again, is based on Trooper Paul's CARS analysis in slides 22 and 23, are then used as a tether, a connection to the events recorded by the VCH and the Lexus on the following slides: 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 35, and 36. I elucidate this and I explicate the slide numbers to show how many there are in Dr. Welcher's report that are rooted in the anchor point and then the change in the deduction of the odometer. So the events memorialized by Trooper Paul on February 1st, including the odometer reading, provide the foundation for Dr. Welcher's entire analysis of the VCH events. The entire analysis of Dr. Welcher's VCH events. That is the adoption aspect of what I started with. Two more points. In addition, Dr. Welcher testified on his voir dire that the image on the left of slide 36 from his January 30th, 2025 presentation came from a file marked carsj.pull. Now, he did contend that it wasn't the exact same image, but I want to go to this. In fact, the image on slide 36 is from the drone used by Trooper Paul, and the citation for that is page 4, item 11 of the CARS report. That's
Bingo.
where the drones are from. Dr. Welcher didn't do any drone activity. He took the drone that he had in his report that was just a little bit different than the one I was showing him. It comes from page 4, item 11 of the CARS report. And I quote, "The crash scene was documented during the on-scene investigation by utilizing Alicia's GNSS GPS mapping system and a DJI Mavic 2 UAS.
Maverick.
This data was input to
I have that drone.
a computer-aided diagram program, which is IMS 360. Here's the key: to produce a scale diagram of this collision. So the DJI Mavic is the CARS team drone. This image of Dr. Welcher's slide 36 is clearly and indisputably from the drone. And the only drone extant is the drone of Trooper Paul and the CARS team. Last point with regard to the Trooper Paul basis in adoption of Dr. Welcher. Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Welcher on voir dire if the image from slide 36 actually came from the CERT team, which is simply not true. The CERT team, actually Lieutenant Tully with the CERT team, took about a dozen photos of the taillight in the snow in the dark around 6 p.m. on January 29, 2022. Lieutenant O'Hara said that the CERT team never traveled back to the scene again. So there were very obviously no photos or images taken by the CERT team in the daylight from the drone. And I again refer to slides 22 and slides 23, where Dr. Welcher said it was more likely than not that it was Trooper Paul in those slides, but the point, whether it's Trooper Paul or not, is completely overwhelmed by what I just argued and presented as specific factual basis for a review, a consideration, and an adoption of the work of Trooper Paul. Unless your Honor has any questions, I would now move on to Dr. Scorti-Bello. Thank you. Dr. Scorti-Bello will be much shorter. Mr. Woke, do we have the slide of the Dr. Scorti-Bello it's at the end of the slide presentation with her name on it? Oh. If you just give the slide number, please. So it is slide 131. I almost know it verbatim, Your Honor, so I will continue. If Ms. Gilman has slide or someone could turn it on. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. So with regard to slide 31, at the very top, and this again is a slide presentation of Dr. Welcher. So up at the very top, and so Dr. Welcher admitted that he not only reviewed the autopsy report, he admitted that he not only considered the autopsy report, he admitted that he adopted it, and I'm going to put adopt in quotes, to the extent that he used it in his slide presentation, and he actually, to show the depth of those three verbs, he's got in orange highlight under final diagnosis, multiple skull fractures, base of skull, and cavallarium. He testified, obviously, about the rear wounds of Mr. O'Keefe. He testified about how he believed.
Oh, no. No, 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 no. Nope. Nope. Not going to have it. Not going to have it. I got it, guys. We're good. I got it.
And hypothermia. He essentially repeated that on his testimony. And then if we could, this document and reliance upon it, why else would he of Dr. Scordi-Bello? And frankly, Your Honor, he didn't fight that whatsoever. It couldn't be any more obvious, his rooting in this document and reliance upon it. Why else would he have it in his slide presentation? And he's got the name of Dr. Scordi-Bello. And frankly, Your Honor, he didn't fight that whatsoever in the questioning of him. Then you go to underneath cause of death, blood impact, injuries of head, and hypothermia. He essentially repeated that on his testimony. And then if we could, Mr. Wilk, just go to the right. And so you've got highlighted head, skull fracture radiating from the right occipital skull and into the right parietal bone, right and left occipital foci, and bilateral anterior foci.
And it's not occipital boner. As the wonderful and infamous Dr. Welcher called it, the occipital boner. He did.
Orbital plates.
Can't make this crap
Again,
up.
the highlighted means something. He's adopting it. And lastly, the depiction of the skull here, I believe that's Dr. Welcher's handwriting. I believe that's his green, the LR, because I've never seen this green highlighting before. And it could also be Dr. Scordi-Bello's. That's another possibility. I'm not sure. But let's assume sort of the most conservative part that it's Dr. Scordi-Bello's. The key part is he's got it in there and he is referencing it. So, Your Honor, the last point really for both of them, and I wanted to save this point because it applies to both. With regard to experts, the law is clear. So I think the easiest part to
I love it. With regards to expert. Oh, that's not what I want. Come on, guys. Give me a little helping hand.
The law is clear.
I love that phrase.
show what our position.
Sorry, he is telling the judge what she has to do by law, reminding her in case she conveniently either forgot or doesn't know.
Here is the adoption, but in it, it's clearly shown. Adoption doesn't mean you have to agree with it. You just have to put your expert hands around it, wrestle with it, deal with it. And there is no rule of law that I'm aware of that says you can't question an expert witness unless it's something that the expert witness agrees with. If the expert witness has reviewed it and considered it, and especially if they've rejected it. The easiest is obviously reviewed, considered, and adopted. But it's certainly permissible and important to a defendant's constitutional right, Sixth Amendment to cross-examination, if an expert says or even infers, I reject this. I reject what Trooper Paul did, or I reject what Dr. Scordi-Bello did. That is decision-making of an expert that the attorney has a right to be able to test. Why did you reject it? What was your thought process in rejecting it? And that applies to both Trooper Paul and Dr. Scordi-Bello, because as I understand it, this witness, Dr. Welcher, is not, he says, I'm not relying upon Dr. or Trooper Paul, which is completely false based upon what I just showed. But even if he just rejects it, in addition to what he has done, we have the right to test and get answers as to why he did it. And the same with Dr. Scordi-Bello. Once he goes to this level, Your Honor, I believe it's a straightforward right, especially of a defendant in a criminal trial, and especially of the stakes and the charges this high, that we get to test it. What I think, lastly, my point here, Your Honor, the Commonwealth is doing is this. The Commonwealth knows Trooper Paul and Dr. Scordi-Bello are problematic for their theory and their narrative. Trooper Paul has got, if you work backwards from his key cycles, you end up with 1162.2, their key cycle. That ends up being not in front of 34 Fairview, but it ends up when the Lexus is in the possession of the state. That is the result of that. And that was something that was addressed square head on in the first proceeding. We're not coming up with some fanciful ghost in the second trial. This was gone through extensively in the first proceeding. And I understand this is a new trial, but it goes to show it's not something coming out of the blue, etc. And with regard to Dr. Scordi-Bello, it was remarkable on the redirect that I've never seen a prosecution essentially go after the opinions and conclusion of their own medical examiner when they basically said, the medical examiner, I can't call this a homicide. The manner of death is undetermined. And the medical examiner says, I don't see any motor vehicle impact injuries. There couldn't be anything more apt, more probative than whether or not the injuries to the decedent are from a motor vehicle. The Dr. Welcher himself is saying they are. That's the essence of his opinion. It's the essence of his test. We get to be able to respectfully, Your Honor, say, well, wait a minute. You said you looked at the autopsy. You said this. You highlight it, but you're going against the medical examiner on whether there's motor vehicle injuries. The experts can't, Your Honor, cherry pick and choose from documents. They can't use it as a shield and a sword. They can't put up, for example, Dr. Scordi-Bello's autopsy report, cherry pick things that benefit from them, and then and they did it on direct. And then all of a sudden on cross, when we want to go and test that, they say, oh, no, you can't do it. Your Honor, this whole argument is absurd, and it's antithetical to the Sixth Amendment. And even if, and this is my last point, even if this were merely a civil case, this would be routine cross-examination against the expert on the side. So in conclusion, Your Honor, I respectfully request that Ms. Reed and her team be allowed to exercise their constitutional right to cross-examination, the keystone of a defense in a criminal trial, cross-examination, and that they be able to take the shield that the prosecution is trying to put on us and be able to combat the sword that the prosecution has put forward with regard to trying to cherry pick from this information, and that we get to proceed, and we get to proceed undaunted from all the serial objections yesterday that interrupted my cross-examination. Thank you, Your Honor.
Wow. Ruh-roh. Let's see what he has to say. See how many screaming goats are going to pop out.
What arises from the litany of complaints by the defense is that there is no constitutional right to usurp the rules of evidence. There is no case law, as much as they urge the court and yell out the word case law and constitutional right and Sixth Amendment right. There is no case law to support what they are trying to do. It is a simple endeavor that is clouded by all the rhetoric that they offer. And it is clear, and the court knows what they're trying to do. They're trying to pit the inadmissible opinion of a non-testifying witness against a testifying witness. They have asked Dr. Scotibello what her opinion is. And although it's not consistent with our reading of the case law, they were allowed to introduce that it was an undetermined cause of death or mechanism. That evidence is already in front of the jury, but they can't simply repeat it because it sounds good to them or they think it's helpful. Simply because a witness uses a document or looks at it or uses part of an autopsy does not let them regurgitate an opinion that's already in evidence to try to phantom cross-examine an expert. Dr. Welcher is clear. He did not rely on Dr. Scotibello's conclusion that this cause of death was undetermined. In fact, as an aside, he said, I wouldn't, because she's not qualified for that. And so this is a simple game. Let's pit one witness against the other and suggest that the Commonwealth's witnesses are inconsistent. They take it a step further. They want to relive what they think is their past success last year in this case without actually calling the witness. They want the jury to hear their
What? You what? Yo, I'm about ready to blow a horn. You're talking about the fact that they're trying to get testimony in without having a witness. What the hell do you think those videos are you're playing? You're trying to get evidence in, i.e., testimony in, without having a witness. And the way you're doing it is playing very clipped, not even edited. I'm about ready to get the goat. Clipped. Again, do I dare say, clipped evidence that you have the option of altering to fit your need. And you're bitching about this? Wow.
Perspective that a past witness had confusion in his analysis, but they don't want to call the witness. They want you to allow them to do that, not just shouting it out and have sustained objections, which has happened this entire case, but they actually want you to be able to allow them to ask Dr. Welch these questions, which he did not rely on. We had a voir dire. He was clear. He did not rely on the analysis of Trooper Paul. He did not rely on that determination or undetermined determination by
The witness is on the stand now.
Dr. Scotibello. It is that simple.
Trooper Paul. That's right. Trooper Paul. Hello, Karate Cat Mom. Welcome back.
They try to throw some fluff out and they throw around some documents. We have slide 22. Simply because there's a suggestion that Trooper Paul might be the hand in the picture is not an anchor. It's not a tether. It's not an adoption. It's no such thing. In fact, if you look at that photograph, it was taken by Zach Clark. So by the rationale of the defense, they should now be able to ask Dr. Welcher any question they want about Zach Clark's opinions, efforts, what Zach Clark did. It is a photograph that he considered, not an opinion, not an analysis. It has nothing whatsoever to do with Dr. Welcher's analysis or opinions. In fact, the evidence is to the contrary. He came out, conducted an independent analysis, did all of the work himself, considered documents, and he was specific about what was part of his opinion and what was not. And this information was not part of his opinion. They turned to the Google map. Bit misleading. This was generated by Google. Two separate people used the same program, but when you look at the CARS report and you look at Dr. Welcher's PowerPoint, it's different. Dr. Welcher's has a map on the side, and when you look at the numbers themselves, the CAR report says minimum 36.1, maximum 38.8. Dr. Welcher's slide, 37.9, 38.1. So in no way did he adopt, anchor, tether, use as any basis. In fact, his is different and separate, as all of his analysis is. And so the portrayal of this necessity of information so they can sneak in inadmissible opinions with no witness is simply improper. There is no case law. There is no legal support for it. They cannot reach back into last year and manipulate a witness and ask him about something that he didn't rely on because it feels good or it sounds good for their case. Dr. Welcher did not rely on Trooper Paul's analysis or reports, and he did not rely on the conclusion of Dr. Scortibello of undetermined. If they want to call Trooper Paul, well, maybe they can try to do that, but Dr. Welch is not the right witness for it. These
Whoa. These are fighting words. And try to call Trooper Paul. Yeah, they can. But Welcher even stated that he depended on everybody's reports to do his investigation.
opinions to try to do a credibility evaluation.
And the only investigation he did was the vehicle hitting him at 2 miles an hour with paint and dropping a crash dummy on the floor. And he did not entertain the fact that it could have been something else. And to me, that's biased. You sit here and you're trying to tear apart the defense's request to the court, but you're forgetting that who is the one that emphasized that this was a situation where John O'Keefe was hit by a car backing up, running him over, and then he dies. That is from you. No one else.
Is a core preclusion
Bingo card.
in criminal law, a core preclusion. You cannot vouch for the credibility of another witness. You cannot comment. It's like asking, did the police officer lie when he said the light was red? It's the absolute same analysis. It just has a lot of icing on it.
And the icing's good. Just because there's icing doesn't mean it's not good.
Very briefly, start getting the jury ready, please.
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, with regard to Trooper Paul, Mr. Brennan did not address 80% of the slides that I addressed that showed the basis. When he talked about the picture, making it seem like the picture is the only thing we're relying upon, there's clearly other items. But even the picture, Your Honor, the purpose of the picture is it's got the odometer reading. That's why they took the picture, and that's the tether. So the photo is completely relevant. It's not who's in it. It's the fact that that's the odometer reading they're using. Next point with regard to case law, Mr. Brennan presents none to go against the common sense law and that has been there for years. The other thing, Your Honor, is with regard to Mr. Brennan keeps trying to put my arguments into a credibility, like we're trying to attack the credibility of Trooper Paul. He says that we're trying to redo last trial. To the contrary, Your Honor, it's the Commonwealth that brought Trooper Paul into the second trial through Dr. Welcher and Dr. Welcher's reliance on all the work of Trooper Paul. They've brought it in here, and because of that, we get the right to cross-examine it. Last point. This is not about credibility. He keeps saying something that's not happening, that we're going to attack the credibility of Trooper Paul. What we want to do is to say to Dr. Welcher, you have brought up Trooper Paul. You have used his odometer reading. That odometer reading tethers through to Google. It tethers through everything you're doing. It's the foundation. But what you're ignoring, Dr. Welcher, are all the key cycle results that come from that odometer reading that you relied upon. Dr. Welcher himself can't cherry pick, grab things that he needs from Trooper Paul to do his analysis, and then the Commonwealth say, but you can't go after that because it somehow has Trooper Paul's name on it. It's illogical, Your Honor, and it's incorrect under the law. Thank you.
How much do you want to bet that Auntie Bev says no? Can you?
So I disagree with you, Mr. Alessi. I'm not allowing in the line of questioning regarding Trooper Paul, and I'm not allowing the line of questioning regarding Dr. Scortibello. So that's my ruling. Let's bring the jury in. Well, come over here because they're on their way.
Y'all, how did I know that was going to happen? Yep. How did I know that was going to happen? My honey bun's going to go get us breakfast tacos. Oh, yep. Here's the other. Sorry. There's the other one. Do you know what? On hot days like today, I love wearing my saris because they are so cool, so comfortable, so freaking amazing. Wow. We didn't see that coming. I saw it coming a mile away. Just FYI. Here's the bingo card so far. Would you agree? I thought he said it, but I wasn't sure. So someone double check me. Trip 3-point turnovers, confirmation bias. Not the goat screen. I almost went to the goat screen, but I figured I better save it. Okay. Yep. And Ceiling Dion is doing good. She's enjoying her little ride. She's hitting the high notes this morning. I'm loving this breaking news. Oh, subscribe. Q&A. Thank you. Breaking news. They got more, but I haven't. What is this? Can someone tell me what that V is for? What is that for? Verified, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to hide it. I don't like it. I don't know what it's for. What does this say? Welcome. Nah, don't want that. It's too big. What is this one? Like and follow. Oh. Move to top. Why it's not on top? Thank you. Let me move these to top. I'm rearranging the thingy-mabob. Okay. Dr. Welcher will be back. And we have the National Paperclip Day. Woohoo! So, everybody. We also got new music.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Canoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court before the County of Norfolk. So I'm here, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. I'll take the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is now open. You may be seated.
Good morning, members. I do appreciate you were waiting. We were doing work in here, but we appreciate your patience. So I do have to ask you those 3 questions. Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday?
It's so cool and comfy.
Were you also able to follow?
Oh, shoot, that's not what we wanted.
And refrain from discussing this case?
Trying to do the mute button. No, not everything does, but it's fun to put up. But yeah, when it's 100 degrees outside, these sari dresses are freaking amazing, and the leggings are so cool. Oh, they're so comfy.
Everyone said no. Thank you. Could we have Dr. Welcher back in, please? And Mr. Leslie, feel free to go to the podium.
With the computer and any electronics there, so we don't have to address it.
It doesn't look like it's turned on at
Oh,
all.
okay, good. And smartwatches.
What was that?
So this one.
Computer and electronics there. Yes.
Thank you.
Right. Oh, and smartwatches. So this is what a reminder you're still in the world. Okay. So he's fussing about the technology. This is the reason why, for those of you who missed it yesterday, Dr. Welcher was admonished by the judge multiple times yesterday, which to me was like, because that is rare that an expert gets that admonished over electronics and papers. He was trying to read from his reports and not answer questions. He was trying to just kind of question, read, pull it up. He was really misbehaving. He was misbehaving. So let's see what happens today.
And Dr. Welch, we're going to ask you to not turn on your computer yet.
Okey-dokey.
Thank you.
Oh,
Your Honor, if I could, smartwatches that are receiving text messages during his direct, if we can make sure that that does not occur.
What?
My email on the line. I think I'll talk.
Okay, or just don't look at your watch.
I'll split it, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He was looking at his watch a lot yesterday. So I want to know who was texting him and
Morning,
what were
Dr.
they
Welcher.
texting.
Good morning.
Do you know whether there was glass found on the bumper of Miss Reed's Lexus SUV?
My understanding there was, yes.
Did you reach a conclusion on whether the glass on the bumper came from the drinking glass that you assert Mr. O'Keefe was holding at the time of the alleged impact?
I didn't have an opportunity to inspect the glass, but the glass was broken and there was glass on the bumper. That's all I know.
So you, as you sit here today, you have no basis to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from the glass that you depict as having been held by Mr. O'Keefe at the time of the alleged impact. Is that correct?
Well, you're mixing a couple things.
No, Dr. Welcher,
So
if you can just answer my question.
I'm
If
trying
I
to.
need to rephrase it, I will.
Um,
I'll ask it a different
and
way.
no.
Please.
You have no basis as you sit here today to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from a drinking glass connected to Mr. O'Keefe, do you?
Well, we have a picture of a broken glass at the scene. So I
Doesn't
wouldn't
mean
say
that
we
it was
have
from
no
him.
basis. We don't necessarily have enough.
That broken glass does not mean it was Trooper, excuse me, John O'Keefe. Could have come from Trooper Paul. Could have come from Karen Reed. Could have come from someone in the house. Hell, it could have fallen from Mars. But you don't have it in his hand. You have no proof that it was him and his drink specifically that was laying there.
Enough to conclude it's from it, though.
Do you had depictions in your test with Mr. O'Keefe holding a glass, correct?
Correct.
My question is, you have no evidence to show at all other than, and I'm talking evidence, testing information. You're saying you have no evidence that shows that the glass on the bumper is not the same glass as you showed on your slides as being found supposedly at the scene. You have no test evidence that that's the same glass, do you?
So again, the one I have at my testing obviously was not the same glass. We have pictures of a broken bar glass in the snow near where Mr. O'Keefe's body was. We have glass fragments on the rear of the bumper. That's the extent of my knowledge on the correlation between those two.
So do you said you reviewed the reports and testimonies of various Commonwealth representatives, correct? That's in your report.
Correct. In the initial.
Right, correct. And some of those reports included forensic scientists who work for the Massachusetts State Police, correct?
I believe that's correct.
And you put those in your report as documents that you reviewed, correct?
Correct.
And as you sit here today, it's your testimony. You don't know whether in any of the reports of the Massachusetts State Police there is an answer to the question of whether there's any connection at all between the glass found in the snow and the glass on the bumper.
I recall it being inconclusive.
Oh, so you recall that the testing was inconclusive?
I don't
Ding, 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 ding.
remember what testing they did, but for example, when they put the taillight fragments back together, they were able to deduce that the fragments were from the taillight. I don't think they attempted to do that with the glass.
Assume that there has been testing of the glass on the bumper, and assume that that testing conclusively determines that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the snow.
Okay.
Assume that.
Okay.
How would that affect your...
Dude, it's really bad when a lawyer has to tell you again and again to assume because you can't follow along. It's not a trick question. This is not a game show. Don't act stupid. And if you're not acting, I'm worried about that PhD level.
or analysis?
I'd want to know where the glass came from, but we still have a whole bunch of other elements. So I don't think it would affect the end results.
So would it have any part in your analysis with my assumption that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that's associated with the broken glass that was supposedly found in the snow?
Yes, I mean, we always want to have as much answers or as many answers as possible. So I would want to know if we could figure out where it came from.
And wouldn't the fact, assuming that the test results show there's no connection, meaning the glass on the bumper is different from the glass in the snow, wouldn't that be contrary to your theory of what happened in some way?
It depends on when the glass was actually broken. The glass was in his hand, at least that's the testimonial evidence I have seen. So it depends on whether it's broken from contact with the rear of the vehicle or broken with contact on the ground.
Assume that the glass on the bumper
Follow me.
is not the glass that was found in the snowbank. Doesn't that, at least in part, contradict your hypothesis as to whether there was contact by the Lexus with Mr. O'Keefe at 34 Fairview?
So if you recall all my slides, nowhere did we discuss that in my slides. So no, it wouldn't contradict it. I would want to know where that glass came from.
But you didn't seek that information, did you, sir, in your analysis to determine where the glass came from?
Well, of course I did. I read the reports about it.
But you sit here and you say you don't know the answer. There's steps you could have taken to get that answer quite easily. Couldn't you have, sir?
Not me. That's a material science expert.
You've been communicating with Lieutenant Tully, haven't you?
Correct.
You couldn't have asked Lieutenant Tully that question?
To my knowledge, he's not a material science expert.
But could he have told you the result of testing on that glass on the bumper and whether it was any way associated with the glass found in the snow? Wouldn't that have been an easy question to ask him? Just, has there been testing? And if so, what's the results?
Yes or no?
Yes, but my knowledge from reading the reports was it was inconclusive.
But you didn't read all of the reports, did you, sir?
Apparently not.
He's going to get busted.
Let's turn to another topic.
These are the gold.
Laser scans. Part of your analysis involved conducting laser scans of portions of 1 Meadows Avenue, the house of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Those laser scans were used, at least in part, to answer the question of whether the collision between Miss Reed's SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's Chevy Traverse at 1 Meadows at approximately 5:07 a.m. on January 29, 2022, caused the right rear taillight of the Lexus to break, correct?
Correct.
And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
You want to get it as accurate as possible.
And,
Yes or
and
no?
The reason why inches matter is because, and we're going to get to this, you try, and you did it in your slide presentation on direct, you tried to see whether the Lexus lined up with the Traverse such that there could be a break of the taillight. That was part of your analysis, correct?
So the main part of the photogrammetry was to determine the speeds and the angles and the degree of overlap on the vehicles. And then we also looked at the damage from the video, or actually it's just where the snow was knocked off the rear of the Chevy Traverse, and document the height of that.
You said the main part. I don't want to engage in semantics. I want to go to my question of, isn't part of the laser scan analysis to determine whether or not those two vehicles align sufficiently such that the Lexus could break, the taillight of the Lexus could break coming into contact with the Chevy Traverse? Wasn't that part of your analysis, at least in part?
Yes.
Okay. And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
It can, depending on which way you're going inches.
No.
So the ring.
These are freaking yes or no. Don't make me get that goat. And don't make me become a chipmunk.
Camera at One Meadows. You're familiar with that Ring camera, right? At
Correct.
One Meadows. That Ring camera at One Meadows was used as part of the laser scan process that you and your firm Aperture performed at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024. Do I have the date correct?
I believe so, but like the videos were not literally used during the laser scans. We took the laser scans, the video, combined them together in the process called photogrammetry.
Okay, let's get this down to the fundamentals. You used, and that was my question, Your Honor, if we could publish the exhibit with regard to the Ring camera.
Sure.
Just FYI, here's my bingo card. Drone reports, yes or no. Free space, correct. Bias, not a trick question. Lexus SUV.
Yeah, I've got my. Dr. Welcher, you recognize that Ring camera as being at One Meadows. You discussed it, as a matter of fact, on your direct testimony, correct?
Yes.
Now, that Ring camera was utilized as part of your laser scan process, correct? It was used.
So you're confusing laser scan and photogrammetry. The video, the laser scanners are together used in the photogrammetry. The camera and the laser scans are not used necessarily with each other.
Was that Ring camera used for any part of your work?
Absolutely, the photogrammetry.
I just need to be able to finish my question, sir. Was that Ring camera used for any part of your work at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
Yes.
And it was used for what purpose?
In the photogrammetric process, to establish the position and dimensions of various things in the video. So then we could go back and overlay the vehicles and track the tracks in the snow, as well as look at the damage to the vehicles.
Right. So this was used to, as a basis, not the only one, to establish dimensions of the other work that was done in analysis at One Meadows, correct?
Correct.
You can take that down, Mr. Wolk. You know that the Ring camera at One Meadows, in existence when Aperture did the work on October 2nd, 2024, was different than the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022, the date where you went through to see if those two vehicles align. Is that correct? The cameras are different.
That is correct.
And you know that the cameras are different, and you knew that as part of your analysis, correct?
Correct.
Did you document the differences between the two cameras as part of any work performed at One Meadows?
Yes.
And did you measure any differences there might have been between the location of the newer Ring camera from the older one that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
No, what we did is use the current Ring camera in conjunction with the old Ring camera, and with the laser scans, we're able to, again, map the points onto the scene. That's why I showed you the report from the photogrammetry software that reported our error.
Sir, my question was just measurement, not your process.
Oh.
Did you measure the difference
I don't believe so.
between where the old camera was and where the new camera was?
No, it was angled slightly more to the right, though.
How would you know that if you were not retained on January 29th of 2022? How would you know where the original angles were?
Because when you look at the first camera, the one on January 22nd, it's here. The new one is slightly over to the right.
That's an eyeball approximation.
How would you know if you were retained on a specific date that prior to that date, if you had not gone there prior to that date and seen the Ring camera yourself, how would you know? How would you know?
Information analysis. That's not a measurement, correct?
Well, I don't know that we actually measured it, but we accounted for it and corrected for it. But you can see, for example, what the original one shows, for example, to the left-hand side, compared to what the new one shows to the left-hand side, and it's angled more to the right.
Sir, you have experience with Ring cameras, correct?
I do.
And I think a lot of members of the public have experience with Ring cameras. You can move just
Depends on the version.
camera portion ever so slightly and
Depends on your version.
change significantly the angle of the camera.
Because-
Can't you, what it captures?
Why is that? Because it has a fisheye lens, which means the lens gets an extremely broad. You can narrow it, but if you move it just a smidgen this way, so here's the camera, and you move it just the slightest bit in the fisheye, it can catch a totally larger amount of area. Yes, that's a good question.
Just a small turn,
Potentially.
right? Even a millimeter turn can make a change. A 2 millimeter, a 1 inch can make a significant change with regard to what the camera captures, correct?
Could, sure.
So, did you measure whether the newer camera that was present on October 2nd, 2024 was installed to the left? And I'm talking measure to the right, to the top, or the bottom relative to the camera that was there on January 29th of 2022.
So we solved for the camera
I'm
position.
asking if you measured.
Yes or no?
Oh, no, we didn't measure.
So
Thank you.
let's talk about some other differences with regard to cameras and Ring cameras. Different Ring cameras can have different levels of distortion, correct?
Correct.
Potentially.
Cameras, well, are you saying that all Ring cameras have the same level of distortion?
No, but again, they're mass produced, so you could have some that have the same exact distortion. You could have some that have different.
And you don't know the comparative distortion between what I'm just going to now refer to as the old Ring camera that was there January 29, 2022, and the camera that you saw on October 2024, which I'll refer to the new camera. You don't know the difference in the distortion between those cameras as you sit here today, do you?
So we know enough information that if the distortions had been different, our errors would have been too high. And so the fact that our errors are within acceptable, or what's called an RMS error, we know that the distortions are similar enough to give us accurate measurements.
Sir, that is speculation. That is not data. That is not a measurement. You didn't measure the distortion, sir, did you? If the cameras, you didn't have the old camera to do it.
We didn't, but we had images from the old camera. And then when we get images from the new camera and solve those camera properties and then overlay data from the old images to the new images with the point clouds, if that distortion is too great, we will have too high of errors in our project, which is why I showed the error report from the photogrammetry process to show that we have checked for that and documented that our errors are in acceptable range so that we have confidence in our results.
You do not have information from the manufacturer of Ring. You didn't present it, and you don't have it as to what is the acceptable level of distortion for the analysis that you did, do you, sir?
The
You have that from Ring.
And I don't have it for Ring, but I don't need it from Ring.
So now let's go to, if cameras have different levels of distortion, that would change the analysis in reconciling the difference between their angles. That's a pretty straightforward proposition, sir. Wouldn't it?
So it depends on how much difference it is, but we have accounted for that.
With which model of the Ring camera was present at One Meadows on January 29, 2022? Which model?
I don't know. I'd have to go look through the data.
Do you believe I'm not going to take up the time to have you look, but do you really believe you've got the model of the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
I don't know. I
You
need to
didn't
look through the
present it
report.
in your direct testimony, did you, sir?
I did not.
So do you have the model of the Ring camera that was present at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
No.
So you don't have even the model for either one of them?
Nope, but we have videos from both of them and scans of the scene.
So now let's talk about another aspect of Ring cameras. They have mechanisms, as I was talking about earlier, that allow the user to adjust the camera angle, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether there was a difference in the camera angle between the two cameras?
Yes, as we already discussed, there was a slight difference in the
But
angles.
you don't have a measurement of that, right, sir?
Correct.
Okay.
But we accounted for it.
So wouldn't a difference in models of Ring cameras be relevant at all to your analysis of trying to reconcile any differences between them?
So if you have video from both of them and you have laser scans with three-dimensional geometry of the scene, you can go in and it's called a reverse camera analysis and solve for the distortion properties. The scans give you the real world dimensions. So once you know the real world dimensions, you can then go in, you can go in and then solve for the camera lens properties based upon the real world distortions. So for example, if there's a little bit of bending at the end, the laser scan data will show that, and you can correct for that knowing information about the laser scanner.
I'll ask
the
the
laser scan data.
I'm sorry, I thought you finished, sir. I'm going to ask the question again because it's a narrow question. Wouldn't knowing the difference in the models be relevant? That's all I'm asking. Wouldn't it be relevant to your analysis of reconciling the differences to them? Wouldn't it be
Yes or no?
No.
So you think the different models are irrelevant to any process you occasioned at one? It's irrelevant.
So the analysis of the video itself is more important than the models?
I'm not asking if it's more important. I'm just asking, would it be relevant?
No, I don't believe it'd be relevant.
Now let's go to another aspect of the cameras.
Good morning, Jackie. Okay. This bothers me because if a camera is off even by centimeters, half an inch, say a cameras see things almost like a pie with the fish lens. The narrowest part of that pie is the camera itself. The fish lens comes out, and you're talking to a professional photographer, 20-year photographer, had a studio. Back in the day, I did all film. I was not into digital. They didn't have digital back then. But anyway, so the cameras in your Ring app and your Ring cameras, Nest, all of them are fish eyes. So usually a camera gets about like this, right? Fish eyes can get like this. So I'm going to use this for example. When you were off just that much here at the camera, 1/8 of an inch at the camera, as it fans out, okay, as that lens catches and fans out, what is 1/8 of an inch? Well, we'll do this hand. What is that 1/8 of an inch here? As it goes, it increases in inches. So if I'm catching something here, this hand is going to go up like that, right? But if I move that camera just ever so slightly this way, it's going to come up here. So what versus here versus here, it does make a huge difference on how many inches. If your camera is off 1/8 of an inch here, when you go back to the original and it comes out, it could be off even feet in the end view. So I'm going to call BS on this guy. His methodology is not scientific. It's not founded. It is not logical. So you have one Ring camera that's been replaced by another, and they're slightly off in their angles. Does make a huge difference in the outcome. You can kiss my butt, buddy. Hello, Miss Jackie.
Are
Good
key
morning.
parameters in a camera that the software needs to know focal length?
It is.
Is imaging size something that is an important parameter in a camera?
Yes.
Is our sampling characteristics an important parameter in cameras?
Can be.
Is the principal point, you
I
understand
did.
that concept, sir? Is that an important parameter in a camera?
We both did.
Define how you're using principal point.
Sure. A principal point of an image is the point where a camera's direct line of sight, called, as you may know, the optical axis, intersects the image plane. Does that
Gotcha,
sound
yes.
familiar?
Mhm.
So isn't that the image's mathematical center, the principal point?
More or less, yes.
And for high accuracy photogrammetric work, it's important to know if the lens is mounted centered over the image sensor due to the small manufacturing variances, correct?
Could be important.
And if the principal point is the center of the image. That's relevant. So doesn't that affect?
So you have a camera, you have a sensor. They can be mounted anywhere around that. Yeah, unless he's eating his lunch on this one as someone who's a professional photographer. 20 years.
The mathematical calculation of the light ray geometry.
It could.
So the variance in manufacturing between cameras is a known issue. Do you agree?
I do.
There's small manufacturing variances that affect one of the key components of the fundamental parameters of the camera, namely the principal point, right?
Correct.
Did you perform the camera calibration of the camera in place in October of 2024?
Yes. So within photogrammetry, we calibrated the photogrammetric analysis to the camera.
Did you address the principal point in that calibration? Do you have documentation that you addressed that important factor, the principal point?
So
Nope.
the checking of the RMS error in the software takes into account, sums up all the potential errors in the measurements, which would include that.
Okay. Sir, you know the importance of all of these topics because the output of all the work Aperture did at One Meadows, almost all of it springs from that camera, correct?
It starts there.
Okay, it starts there. And if the starting point is wrong, then where you go from the starting point is going to be at least potentially wrong, correct?
Potentially.
Would you agree that Ring cameras have a swiveling mechanism so that the user can adjust the camera angle?
Some do.
Do you know whether the camera that was in existence on January 29, 2022 had a swiveling mechanism?
I believe it did.
Believe? Do you know?
I do not know for a fact, but
you-
those style of Ring cameras on the surveillance have adjustability that includes angle.
But you don't know whether the camera that was there, the specific camera on January 29, 2022, had a swiveling mechanism or not, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether the camera that you saw in October of 2024 had a swiveling mechanism on it?
It did.
And where did you document the fact that it had a swiveling mechanism?
I think we have photos of the camera.
Did you document it in writing, and did you document the tolerance of the swiveling mechanism?
No.
Let's go to, and again, all of the camera, this camera that you used is the starting point for your laser scan and photogrammetry process, correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's go to another topic. On your direct testimony, as I recall, you stated essentially from various information that you lined up in the video, and we're talking about the lining up of the Lexus with the Traverse. And this is at One Meadows. And so, as I understand what you did, sir, is you took what are called point clouds, 3D images, created them for the Lexus. You took created 3D images, synonym point clouds of the Traverse, and then you attempted to line them up to determine, among other things, whether they would align sufficient so that the Lexus could line up and potentially hit the Traverse such that the tail light of the Lexus could be broken. Was that at least part of your analysis?
That was part. There was more.
So you showed a slide, a few slides, and with your honor's permission, what I'd like to do is to start with slide 90.
All right, do you have any problem with Dr. Welcher keeping his printed copy that he was using?
I have no problem with the printed copy, your honor.
So, I'm sorry, what slide again?
90.
Your Honor, my printed copy is tiny.
Okay.
Can I
Can
pull it
you
up?
see the?
Yes. Yeah.
Does that slide that's part of your presentation depict a view from the top of the Lexus on the right and the Chevy Traverse on the left?
Correct.
And is that depicting contact between the two vehicles?
It is.
Now let's zero in a
Look,
closer
look, 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 look. Hello. Hello. This right here is the tail light. Up here is the spoiler. Here is the tail light. Because it wraps around to the corner. Here's where the black part of the car ends. Right there is the light. Go for it. Get him a
And
lesson.
that is a contact point, am I correct?
Correct? I mean, there's multiple points. There's more than
Multiple
one.
points, but it shows more clearly the contact
Correct.
between the two vehicles. Now, if we could the next, and that is number 91, Mr. Wolf. So Your Honor, 91. I think these are just going to go in order for a few, and I'll keep announcing them. So this is 91, same vehicles, just a different viewpoint. Is that correct, Dr. Welcher?
Correct. This and the next
I
slide.
just want to stay
I know.
with this one. I
Hold
just
on a
asked the
second.
question, does it show the contact?
So go ahead and answer now.
This slide and all the other slides, we're trying to show the angle of contact, but because it's two-dimensional image, you're losing some perspective. For example, here you're seeing the chrome piece on Mr. O'Keefe's Chevrolet, which is on the right. You're seeing it obviously behind where.
Thank you, Alessi, for pointing this out. His vehicle right here is on top of her vehicle in this image, when in fact, that's not the way it would be. This, to me, when we first saw this, made me go,
Where the Lexus is. So we were trying to show it at a whole bunch of different angles to try and illustrate
angle card.
the degree of closeness or lack thereof.
Alrighty. So
Thank you.
is it correct that on your direct examination, you said in sum and substance, we looked at the degree of overlap and there's only about a 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap between the vehicles. Is that what you recall saying on direct?
That is correct.
And that you stated that supposed 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap was insufficient to cause the tail light of the Lexus to contact the rear of the Chevrolet. Do you recall saying that?
That's correct.
Now, I would like you to look at that. This is from your slide presentation. Is that not showing contact between the two vehicles?
Oh, it absolutely is not. What you're seeing is a portion of the vehicle that is behind the area. Keep in mind the angle, the Lexus is angled off to the left. So the area that you see here is actually, in this case, in front of where the taillight is. This is why we tried showing it from a whole bunch of different angles, because when you try and take a two-dimensional image and look at it, you see stuff in the background. So and again, this is why in the computer, we overlaid them, looked at the measurements, in the computer where you don't have this, we have the three-dimensional measurements and it does not hit.
Where?
okay, so if you have those three-dimensional evidence that shows it did not hit, why are you relying on a two-dimensional photo that you copy, pasted, and clipped together?
Did you show in your slide presentation what you
Good
just
morning,
said,
Miss
that it
Diane.
doesn't show an overlap?
So
Where?
it shows a contact. It definitely contacted, I'm sorry, Mr. Reporter, down below here. It does not show a contact here. So to answer your question, all the next slides were our attempt to do that. So all the next slides is your answer.
We're going to go to those next slides. So just to be clear, you're saying that depiction does not show any contact between the taillight of the Lexus and the Chevy Traverse.
So the upper taillight, just to be clear, because the lower taillight is much closer.
Well, it's not only much closer, it's in contact, isn't it, sir?
It's very close. It's probably within an inch of being in contact.
Oh, so you state that even the lower part of the taillight is not making contact?
So if, again, maybe there's a photo we could show or a scan that is on the rear of the vehicle and it contacts on the corner, which is just around. So maybe like an inch or so in front of it on the corner.
I'm just going with what you presented in your slide
Well, let's go to the next
presentation.
slides and then
Sir,
maybe
I
we'll see
will
it.
determine which slides we go to on
Whoo! Oh, dude, don't piss off Mr. Alessi. Oh, snap. Bingo card. Might as well take a break and do it. Drone shot of area reports reverse. I did that. Yes or no? Methodology, free space, JOK, SUV, goat scream, correct, bias, not a trick question, Lexus SUV. Oh, what, Miss Diane? Perfecto. All right, back to the shenanigan. Oh, you don't dare do that.
My questioning.
I'm just hoping
So
to
now
answer your
let's
question.
go to Mr. Wolf, the next slide.
Wow.
There we go.
In your presentation, my question is zeroing in. Are you saying that that slide does not show contact between the tail light of Ms. Reed's Lexus and any part of the Chevy Traverse?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what it shows. You can see a little better here. Again, we tried all these different angles, which is why all these slides are in there. But you can see some of the geometry of the light. This structure, and again, remember I said the Chevy kind of curves in as it goes up a little bit.
Let's go to the next slide. 40. 40, yes, please.
The wows.
Is it working? 41, Your Honor.
That's exhibit 41? No, I have a question because that's not my slides.
That car was bought from Europe, brought to the U.S. into Texas, then shipped to California.
So, Mr. Alessi, is this exhibit number 41 or is this from the PowerPoint? Because,
Slide 41. Slide.
okay.
Yes.
So
We had a sidebar this morning, didn't we?
I'm putting this up because I want to show an actual photograph of that tail light, and I would like you, sir, to focus on the quarter panel
Point, K Swan.
tail light.
If you're going to use the blue paint to show on the body, why didn't you have paint on the vehicle and back up the vehicle into the Traverse so you could see where it collided and then show the paint transfer? That would have been a much better exhibit E than gluing pictures together in Photoshop very poorly at that.
Light in each. Do you see a jutting out of the quarter panel tail light in that photo? You see it jut out?
So I don't know if you and I are talking the same thing. There are little fins here.
Why are you addressing Your Honor? She has nothing to do with what you're getting ready to say. You need to be addressing Alessi or the jury, but not Your Honor.
Correct. Now,
Right there.
what I'd like to do is to go
It goes
back
whoop, whoop.
to the
I know because Mama has one like it.
depiction we were just looking at. And that depiction doesn't show the jutting out, does it?
It shows caved
No,
in.
It does.
No.
Those are actually more on the side of the vehicle. You can't see.
Okay. It jet out comes out like this. Somebody digitally did that. That is not how that light is shaped. It comes here, it comes out, it goes down, it goes out, and it comes in here, and here is the rest. They literally, look at all that they've cut off. I'm drawing, follow my mouse. All of this gray here has been digitally removed. It is not accurate. Thank you, Alessi. I love it when they get good.
Them in this image?
Correct. You
But-
can't see them.
Hold on a second. I wasn't finished.
No.
But they're one.
Whoa. Okay.
They are 100% there. We actually did special hand scans with a hand scanner of the taillight to put it back on to the vehicle.
You say they're 100% there, but you can't see it in that depiction, can you? The jutting out that you could see
goat
in the
is on my finger.
two-dimensional one we just saw. You can't see it.
I can't see who's behind that wall because it's being blocked by something. I can't see on the side of the taillight because it's on the side I can't see. It's being blocked.
Sir, my question is simple. You cannot see the jutting out of the taillight in this depiction, can you?
No.
Correct.
Okay, now let's go on to the next question in this topic. You could have easily solved what you consider to be the issues you had with trying to show it lining up, couldn't you, sir? You had an easy solution for that.
I took the best solution. I'm not sure what
You
you're referring
had
to.
3D images, correct?
I did.
You could have shown and measured 3D images to get almost the exact contact point and almost the exact dimensions if you had just used the 3D images that you had available to you. Isn't that correct?
That's exactly what we did. When I went through the video analysis, I showed you how we overlaid the point clouds, the 3D scans on top of each vehicle. So we took the, I'm sorry, we took
Sir,
the vehicles.
please don't interrupt.
Hold on.
Your
Hold
Honor,
on.
he keeps referencing my hand and saying I'm doing something when I'm not. And I think that's distracting to the jury.
So-
I'm not interrupting
Hold
him.
on. Let the witness answer the
I
question.
am. I
Let
just
him
holding
finish.
my hand like this, Your Honor. He keeps saying that I'm doing something.
Mr. Leslie, please.
All right.
Go ahead, finish the answer. Dr.
Anti-bad
Again,
for your
in the photogrammetric
freaking job
analysis, I
and
showed the
control
video.
this witness. Direct him, the witness, to stop his behavior. I'm freaking code red.
I showed how we overlaid the point cloud on top of the video. That proves that.
Oh, wait. No, is it gone? Okay. Guard your ears if you can't handle loud noises. We're code. I am.
The way we solved it, correct camera characteristics, matches. Otherwise, that would be distorted. We overlaid the scans of the Lexus into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid the scans of the scene into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid all that stuff into the analysis. We did exactly what you're suggesting.
You could have easily addressed this issue by the following. If you really believe there was no contact or not sufficient contact, you could have produced a graphic that shows a gap between the two vehicles. A graphic, couldn't you? That's not a graphic.
What is that?
Sir, I get to ask the questions and you are to answer them subject to the judge's ruling. So my question is, couldn't you have created a graphic that would have better shown the issue that you are creating or talking about today? That's my question. Couldn't you have created a graphic?
We did. We created a whole bunch of graphics.
You called what we just saw a graphic?
Yes.
Well, if there's a gap, why isn't there then something that shows a clear gap?
Because when you have the angulation of the vehicles, you have perspective. When you're looking at it, even if you do a top down, you see everything projected onto a single flat plane. So you can't tell the height of things. So when you see things in this dimension, you can't necessarily see depth of things. So you lose in two-dimensional images, you lose one dimension depending on which way you're looking. That's why I showed it from all these different angles to try and show exactly what you're saying. We had graphics to do that.
3D images allow you to show perspectives for 360 degrees, correct? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Bitch,
So
please.
none of what you presented in your slideshow shows the contact points from 360 degrees, does it?
I don't understand your question. Are you asking if I showed it at every single, I went through 360 slides that showed it at every single degree?
Sir, let's move on. I think I've made the point.
So I'm going to strike the comment,
Okay.
Mr. Leslie.
Dr. Welcher,
Strike the last.
let's
bingo card.
go to the next topic. And keep with these two depictions. Are these two images point clouds or 3D images? Are these two?
Those are one and the same thing. They're yes.
I would use them as synonym. Which term of the two do you want to use? Point cloud or 3D images?
Both are fine. It's a 3D image composed of points, which
Okay, so let's just call them 3D images so we
Okay.
can do this more quickly. The Lexus and the Chevy Traverse that are depicted there are both 3D images of those vehicles, correct?
correct.
And Aperture created the 3D images, correct?
Correct.
Sir, did you do these scans and did you personally create these images?
No, one of the assistants at Aperture did.
So you're speaking about what somebody else did at Aperture, correct?
They were doing it at my direction. And for example, the Lexus scan, I showed the photographs. You can see the gentleman that works at Aperture.
Okay, wait a minute. You presented to us 2 days ago that this was your work. If somebody else produced said photo, say somebody else did that diagram, why were they not brought in to validate that as it's brought into evidence? Because you personally didn't put those images together. Who's the person who did? I want them on the stand. I want them to tell me what they did, how they did it, and how they came up with the image. You can then use that as a part of your testimony. But why do we not have the other people coming in? Why?
Mike Morelli was scanning them for me while I was doing the rest of the inspection. And then the hand scanning of the rear tail light was done by another engineer. I was out there with him doing it, taking measurements.
What's his name?
And then same thing
I
with
want a name. I want a name.
the Chevy Traverse.
My question is, you didn't do the creation of these 3D images, did you?
The individual images, no.
All right, so let's go to these individual images. These are 3D images. Is that your testimony?
He's getting uncomfortable. He's trying to self-soothe.
Yes.
Let's look at the tail light.
Okay.
That's not a 3D image. That's a Photoshop, isn't it?
Nope.
Oh, so it's your testimony that that tail light is a 3D image.
That absolutely is a 3D image. The way you can tell is when you get up near the chrome, because lasers don't like shiny objects, you start to get a scatter. So see all these dots here? If that was a photo, you wouldn't have these dots.
Let's go to the Chevy Traverse.
Like hell you wouldn't. Well, I see what he's saying, but the photoshopped is this area right there. That is the photoshopped area right there. I don't care about these dots. I get it. But this is the point of contact where you have that car coming over, that's your Photoshop. That's where Alessi is alleging is Photoshop.
Let's, Mr. Woke, zero in on the content, yeah. There's grain on that taillight, in the taillight. That's a 3D image of a taillight, isn't it, sir?
They're both 3D images.
Well, I just want to stay with one. That taillight is a 3D image, and one of the ways you can tell is it's because it's got all that grainy material on it, correct?
Correct.
Now let's go back, Mr. Woke, to the Lexus. Let's now go to the bumper.
But do you want me to explain the difference?
No,
Okay.
thank you. I would like to go to the bumper. Do you see any grainy,
Nope.
the predominance of any grainy image on the bumper?
Nope.
There's a little bit. So for example, when you get near edges, it has a hard time with edges.
I'm
So
sorry,
you-
the bumper cover.
Right.
See the bumper
This-
cover up above?
This whole thing is the bumper cover. That's the step pad. That's the rear body panel or the rear deck lid.
I'm talking about the step pad.
So what he, i.e. our witness Welcher, is trying to say, anywhere there's a reflective or a highlight or it's silver, is going to have this pixelation. That's what that's called. Anywhere that's dark is not. But I will tell you, I kind of agree a little bit with the Lessie that it is very inconsistent, because see this area? Oh, on the wrong screen. You see this area right here? Why is it not pixelated like up here? See these highlights right here? Why is it not pixelated like up there? You see this light? Why is it not pixelated more? Look at that right there. Why is it not pixelated more? You look at the rear end of the Traverse and it's highly pixelated. So see that little silver, these highlights right here? It would look like this up here. This to me does make me feel like it's photoshopped. Now, I'm going to screenshot this. I'm going to produce it in a minute. Give me a second. Why does my folder, it doesn't save it the way I want it? Okay, so now we got the picture up. Let me get my words out of the way. Now the picture is here. I'm going to blow it up. Ooh, I got to share this. I'm going to share this. Give me a second. Okay. Do you see this line here? And then we have a little jig right there. Then we have a line here. Then we have a, this to me looks photoshopped. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, I was a beta tester for Photoshop. I have been using Photoshop from the date it was beta tested. So I'm going to tell you, when I know Photoshop, I freaking know my Photoshop. Look at this. This has been cut out and blurred, because the amount of blur, see the blurring amount here versus the blurred amount there? I can do that in Photoshop. But what I'm concerned about, look how sharp that line is on this. Then you have a shadow cast. And then you have all these pixelated marks from the scanner. And look at the sharpness on the bottom versus the blurriness here. To me, look at the sharpness of that spot. If that was not bumper, was not photoshopped on, it would have the same pixelation. I am disappointed. This was manipulated. I don't care what anybody else tells me. From my humble opinion, from my knowledge, from my ability as a master level Photoshop operator, this is what we call a crop, and this is definitely, yeah, there's no way that this image has not been altered. Let me go back over here. I want to show you something. Sorry. And then we'll move on. But this is a good telltale. Let me show you here. All right. This is the back of the vehicle, the bumper right here of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Do you see how irregular that is from the scan? Well, why is it? I know his vehicle is a lighter color vehicle, but it is placed on top of the vehicle of Karen Reed, on top of the light, and then it's blurred on the red. See the blurring? The blurring, okay, let me explain something. When you do a hand blur, it's like a brush. We all know brushes, and it's a circle. And what happens is you take it where my hand is and you fuzz it up. You fuzz it to take it to blur it. You click on it and you brush. Click on it and brush. Brush, brush, brush. Why is there a consistent, identical pattern in the blur as there is with John O'Keefe's car? If this was just laid on top, you would not have this blur line go in here. It would be a hard cut. It would be hard. Kind of like what we see here in the black. See here in the black? Do you see any of those little blur marks going up? Because if you blurred it even in black, you would see it. It's a hard line. But when you get up to the tail light, look at the blur lines right here. That's a blur line. It shouldn't be there. That is not natural. It would be a harsh cut. So where her tail light ends and his car covers, it'd be a harsh cut. Yeah. That's a no bueno. If I'm on the jury, I wish I was on the jury, because if I was on the jury, I would debunk this so freaking fast you wouldn't know it hit you.
Sir, just the step pad of the bumper?
Are you asking about just from here to here?
Correct. The bumper step
Can we
pad.
zoom in on it?
Pardon me?
Can we zoom in on it?
Sure. Do you see any?
Yeah, I see graininess.
Let's go over to.
Right in here. You can see it all through here. You see it through here.
Well, I'm talking about the step pad, not the entire bumper. I'm just talking about the step pad.
Right. So you're zooming in on the bumper.
Right.
The step pad is this structure up here.
We're going to move up. It just takes a while.
Look how
your
clean that
testimony
is.
That is a.
Can you zoom in more?
That's you would like it
is
zoomed in?
Yes, sir.
Flawless.
Sure.
Even has.
Your testimony is that is a 3D image, not a Photoshop step bumper cover. Is that correct?
So we have mapped the color over the 3D scans. We used 2 separate scanners. If you recall, when I got out to Miss Reed's vehicle, that taillight was gone. So we had to replace the taillight.
Talking about the bumper cover, not the taillight.
Okay, I'm explaining the process.
I just asking about the bumper cover, not the process.
So focus your answer on the bumper.
That is a laser
Thank you,
scan.
Your Honor. Hell has frozen.
Okay, so your
That's a 3D
testimony
model.
is the step part of the bumper cover is a 3D image from a laser scan, and it's not a Photoshop. That's your testimony.
Absolutely.
And you didn't perform the work for the 3D that you claim the bumper step up is. You didn't do that work to produce that depiction, did you, sir? Somebody else in your firm did it.
So this is all done at my direction. The engineers that work for me, so
Nope,
I'm telling them what to do. I'm not the
no.
one punching the keys.
That's my
I'm saying,
question.
That's
I
not
need
what
you to
I'm
do
asking.
this, and this. Use the hand scanner, go scan the light. I need to put this back in because it was missing when we got to it. So no, I'm not punching the keys.
Okay, so
Okay. Come on over, please.
How so much fuzz gets on my microphone, I do not know. Does this make sense, Diane?
What?
What I'm showing y'all?
Oh, yeah.
There is no way that that bumper cover would be that color and that clean had they not overlaid it. This image has been altered. Period. End of discussion. Let's look at bingo card. What am I missing? Would you agree? He did say that.
Sidebar.
Sidebar. I don't know if he said finish or answer. Somebody else, if I need to add anything, let me know. But I am looking at this and I'm like, microdocs can produce better pics. Yeah. That's right, Ronnie. But you're the expert and you're not experting. And then he said they did overlay the taillight. I'm like,
You got a bingo.
huh?
You got a bingo, Ada K.
I do.
You do.
I'm watching my honey on camera try to come in with all of our breakfast without spilling it instead of making 2 trips. Let's see if he makes it in.
Ada K, you got 2 bingos.
I do. I got that one and I got that one. I got a vertical and a horizontal. All right, we're back.
With regard to, no, we don't need to back up, Mr. Wolf. Isn't it correct that 3D images allow for proper and most accurate measurements as opposed to 2D images? Is that a correct general statement?
I mean, generally, yeah.
Okay, that's my question. So let's go to the next topic. Let's talk about hydraulics on the Lexus SUV. What type of hydraulic system does the Lexus SUV have?
So it has a mechanism, I believe it's actually pneumatic. It's air-based system that raises it up and down.
Do you know what the name of that system is, sir?
No, not off the top of my head.
Do you know how it works specifically?
I do. Well, I mean, I know generally that there's a button on the interior where you can raise and lower the ride height.
And is that the extent of your knowledge of that system on the Lexus?
No. Again, I know when you park it, it'll drop down the ride height. When you adjust it for different roadway conditions, it'll change the ride height.
Do you know what the height tolerances are? In other words, the lowest to the highest?
I believe it's around 1.25 inches. At one point in time, I measured it. I don't remember off the top of my head.
So you believe it's 1.25 inches up and 1.25 inches down? How do you apply the 1.25 inches?
I recall the total being like 1.25 inches, but I measured it at one point in time. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Would you be surprised to hear that the tolerance is 5 inches on that vehicle?
I would be surprised. I don't recall it being that much, but I would need to double check.
Assume that the manual as well as other informations support that the tolerance is 5 inches and that specifically the vehicle can be raised 3 inches high and it can be lowered 2 inches. That's the basis for the 5. What was the suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus that you used for your accident reconstruction analysis out front at 34 Fairview between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. on January 29, 2022 to determine whether it was possible for the spoiler on the back of the Lexus to make contact with the eye of Mr. O'Keefe? If it was even possible, what did you use for a measurement of the suspension?
Matched the measurements from when the vehicle was tested, I believe on February 1st at the Canton Police Department.
What match did you make?
So we aligned the bottom of the taillight, actually the sheet metal right below the taillight. So we adjusted the height of the Lexus to match that.
Did you in any place document what level the Lexus was at the time of any testing, meaning the suspension? Did you document at all?
Yes.
Where?
Slide 107.
Can we have slide 107, Mr. Wolf?
And then if you could zoom in on the lower photograph, the gentleman with the blue shirt.
Keep kicking the stool.
Zoom in a little more, please.
Are you gonna that information done today? That information.
So if I may, we matched
Don't forget to do the post.
the bottom of the sheet metal here to photographs when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Sir, my question is, where did you document whether the suspension was at 0, whether it was +3 or -2? Where did you document that?
Right here.
And what are the numbers of the documentation of that?
I don't know. We were matching the photos. So I don't care what the numbers are. I care that the height is the same.
Okay, so I just heard you say, if I heard correctly, you don't care what the
Here's the thing. It is important because why? Someone like me who has a bunch of first responder gear in my vehicle, which carries weight, and then my weight and the weight of anybody in my vehicle is going to affect the suspension height. When you have AED, a wheelchair, manual or electric, if God only knows whatever you have in your vehicle, will affect the suspension height. There is a natural suspension height that comes with the vehicle that can be altered, like he's talking about. The fact that this guy did not double check the suspension height on Karen Reed's car, it doesn't matter if you take a ruler or measuring stick and shove it at the back of the vehicle and say, okay, this is the height that we need to be at. Do you know why? The moment you get in that vehicle, it can alter that suspension height. Now, as tiny as she is, I doubt that it would, but I get his point.
suspension is at? Is that your testimony?
No, I don't care what the suspension number is as long as the heights match.
I understand. So
You might want to say it is not important to me.
what
Not
was
that I
the
don't care.
suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus at 5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022, while at One Meadows and colliding with the Chevy Traverse? What was the suspension height then?
We assumed it was the same as when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Exactly. You assumed, but there's no measurement like was just on that depiction. There was no note that said, okay, we're doing this very important and inches sensitive measurements to see whether the tail light on the Lexus makes contact with the Traverse, but
Or
there's
bingos.
no measurement and no documentation of what the suspension height was at One Meadows, correct?
Maybe not.
So we took the closest measurement in time to the Mun Meadows event, which is when it was at the Canton Police Department. That was the best information we had.
Well, that information isn't very good because the vehicle had to go from Canton to One Meadows. And when the vehicle drives, the way the suspension system works, it's automatic. When you go above 20 miles an hour, the suspension comes up. And when you turn off the vehicle, it goes down so you can get out easier. So it would be improper to assume that the suspension at
I forgot about that. Oh my God. See, my car doesn't have that, but some cars do. So when you stop, it comes down, making it easier to get into. And when you get in and take off, it comes back up and goes. Ooh. So if she had been driving the vehicle even though she parked, she hadn't turned it off. Whoever's throwing the hearts up, thank you so much for the hearts. I appreciate it in 100% in the comments. Thank you so much. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking about it, her suspension is going to be elevated because the car's on and has been driven versus, once again, if it had been parked and off, it's going to be lower. Alessi, I give it to you. I give it to you.
One Meadows would be the same at another location.
That's the only, sorry.
Was there an objection? No. Go ahead and answer, please.
That's the extent of the information we had. We had it when it was at the Canton Police Department.
That's-
We matched that height.
Sorry, sir. I understand.
But actually, you brought up a good point. It's going so slow when it's backing up that it wouldn't raise up. So the static
bullshit.
position when it's backing up would be the static position.
But it wouldn't be
That's
going.
not true. Not true. She gets in the car at the house. Okay, John and her, at the bar. Her and John get in the car. They drive to 34 Fairview. She stops the vehicle. It lowers because John gets out of the car. If I'm correct. If not, it doesn't lower. But let's just assume it does for argument's sake. You guys are telling us that she backed up 24 miles an hour and in reverse and hit John O'Keefe. That is over the speed threshold for it to come back up. It had to go back up. Yep. I call BS on that.
Going in back up from the Canton Police Department to One Meadows, it wouldn't be going back up when it's going in other locations, sir, right? It would be driving forward. It had to get from point A to point B.
Right, but as you pointed out, when you turn it off, it drops down.
But she didn't
then
turn
you
off
turn
the
it on.
car. She left it running. So it would be in the up position when John O'Keefe got out of the vehicle. It only goes up and down when you go from a off position. You open the door, you get in, you shut the door, you start the car. It's going to elevate. So you're saying when you turn it off, it goes back down. So if she drives up to the house and doesn't turn the vehicle off, which she wouldn't because it's a freaking blizzard outside and it's cold as hell, and she's sitting there waiting for John O'Keefe to let her know that they are truly invited and she can go in, and he doesn't come back out, the car is still running. Therefore, it wouldn't lower. Oh, why can't I be on that jury?
On, and then once you go above 20, as you indicated,
By
it
the
goes
way,
up. But
I
when
gotta
she's
show
backing
this.
up, she never goes more than a couple miles an hour.
Oh, you guys, that's bull. I'm going to show this. I love it. I love my mods. Y'all give me some of the funnest things to look at. This is so cool. I'm sharing it. Don't tell me what to do. Can't make it any bigger. Sorry, guys. I love y'all's stuff. Some of the stuff you send me, I just get the best laugh over. All right, let's listen to this Yahoo.
So it's going to be at the same position as when you start, which is approximately the same position when it's off at the Canton Police Department a couple days later.
Do you know whether the suspension system locks when there is testing of the infotainment system?
Whether the suspensions, I don't know.
Okay, let's go on to the next topic. You're aware of the vehicle control. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Was the judge twisting her glasses? Did that one get taken?
Thank you, Ron. I want to go, I'm changing topics to go back now to Fairview, 34 Fairview. You don't know what the suspension ride height at 34 Fairview was on January 29th of 2022, do you?
Correct.
So therefore, if you don't know what the suspension height was, because of course you weren't there on January 29, 2022. Therefore there's no measuring stick, as you say, you assert that you would have accounted for it in your methodology. So you don't have the suspension height for that key day, do you, sir?
I only have it 2 days later.
All right. So when you talk about key measurements, such as the spoiler on the top of the Lexus and the inches that are important as to whether things such as, is there a contact with the front eye, you don't have some data that would be relevant to that calculation, the sum data being the suspension height of the Lexus at that time, do you?
So we have some data. We have photos of the vehicle 2 days later. We don't know the exact height outside because, as you alluded to, we don't have a measurement on January 29th of it, but we do have it 2 days later. That's the source of the measurement.
You don't have the suspension height or the setting of the suspension of the Lexus that existed on January 29th, 2022, do you?
Correct.
Now let's go on to another topic. Within the 34 Fairview on January 29th of 2022, I'm not going to go over them, but you asserted various measurements, height, width, with regard to the Lexus, correct? It wasn't just for the spoiler at the top, correct?
Correct.
And for all those other measurements that you talked about, you did not have the suspension height and the suspension setting of the hydraulic system of the Lexus on January 29th.
Y'all, pay attention to him. His breathing has picked up and become very shallow.
2022, did you?
So the hydraulic's only going to affect the vertical dimensions. It doesn't change anything left to right. It doesn't change anything down the side of the car.
Understood. But for the measurements that are affected by vertical, you didn't have the suspension height of the Lexus system on January 29, 2022.
Again, I only know what it is 2 days later.
So now let's go on to vehicle control history. Sir, you understand what I mean by vehicle control history?
This is the extreme information?
No.
Are you aware of what is called the Bosch crash data
Okay, don't you start pulling out that laptop.
retrieval system in Lexus vehicles?
Of course, we showed it on my slides.
And the Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles is sometimes referred to as the black box.
No, you're mixing up two things. So the Bosch is like the tools.
It's a question, sir.
So can you answer that with a yes or no?
Is the Bosch crash data retrieval system the black box on Lexus vehicles? I just wanted to repeat it so we can.
I didn't hear what the objection. You objected?
I'd like him to be able to finish his answers.
Yeah. So the question was just asked. Can you answer that question?
No, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, next question, Mr. Wilson.
It does make sense. He just doesn't
I'm gonna
want
ask
it
the
to make
question,
sense because
sir.
he doesn't want to answer.
The Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles, you're familiar with that? Are you familiar with it?
There is no such thing in the Lexus.
A Lexus does not have a Bosch crash data retrieval system?
No.
Have you read the report of Trooper Paul?
Yes.
What are y'all
the May
bingoing on?
2023. Does that report not use the exact words posh? Let me ask this. Do you recall?
Sustain. The
Okay.
objection sustained.
Let's go to the VCH system in Lexuses. Is the VCH system intended by Lexus as a diagnostic tool for their technicians, Lexus technicians, to assist in vehicle repair and maintenance? Is that what that is created for?
That's their stated purpose.
Right. And is a synonym for VCH TechStream?
Sort of. TechStream, similar, like Bosch is the hardware and software to access the black box data. TechStream is the software to access, for example, the pre-collision system, the PCS system, and the VCH, which is the vehicle control history. So TechStream which does a lot of other stuff, but does access that information.
You just mentioned Bosch, didn't you, sir?
So Bosch is not in the Lexus. You use Bosch stuff sold by Bosch, Bosch software and hardware, and you walk up to the Lexus with all the Bosch stuff and plug it in and download the event data recorder, the EDR, the black box. That was my problem. There is no Bosch stuff in the Lexus.
He said a black box, and then you said there's no black box. There is. And in order to use the Bosch system to download it, it must be compatible. So that black box must be compatible with Bosch. Move off of your attitude, witness.
I understand, sir. That was going to be the question that I was trying to get to, but you've explained it, so I don't have to answer the question. Let's go to the VCH database that you say the stated purpose is to assist technicians at Lexus in vehicle repair and maintenance.
So I didn't say that was a stated purpose. I'm saying that's what Lexus or Toyota says is a stated purpose. It's being used in litigation all the time. All I know is that's what Lexus and Toyota says. But again, it came about right when we started seeing all the sudden accelerations in the Toyota vehicles.
So my question is the VCH database specific to Toyota and Lexus vehicles?
So it's not a database, it's software.
Is the software specific to Lexus and Toyota? The VCH?
Those particular acronyms are, yes.
Want to move to another topic, and we are almost finished. We have just two more topics, sir.
Which will be another hour.
How common were VCH events when Miss Reed owned the Lexus?
In 2022?
No shit, Sherlock.
Do you know the ownership period of
She owned it?
Miss Reed with
No, January 25.
respect to the Lexus? Do you know how long she owned it?
I have that documentation. I don't know
She still legally owns it, you moron.
off the top of my head.
Do you have an approximate?
No, I mean, it was a 2021 vehicle. Our accident's January 29, 2022. But I did get that information.
Do you know how many VCH events were associated with the Lexus of Miss Reed?
I did not count them, no. I have them all.
Do you
I was
have-
only focused on the ones around our time period.
Exactly. But do you have the number of events? Do you know how many there were?
I could get it for you.
How long would it take, sir?
3 minutes?
Why don't we come back to it?
Okay.
And we'll see if it's.
How about I start this so that we don't have to wait for it to boot up?
Nope.
And then when we come back to
How
it, it's ready
about
to go.
you shut up and you be a witness and don't tell the lawyer what to do and how to handle his case? Your Honor.
That's all you're looking at, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. And then
Oh, no.
pick your head up,
No,
please,
no, no,
so I
no.
can finish.
Someone needs to be
these two.
supervising
Go ahead.
this.
So
Someone needs to be supervising this. I don't trust the dude.
how often were VCH events recorded on the Lexus before January 29th of 2022?
Man, I have to pull this data up.
Fair
to-
enough,
to
fair enough.
answer that
I
question.
assume that's going to be in what you're also pulling up.
That's the goal here.
I'd be up
Would
there
the
next to
number
him as a lawyer
be about
supervising.
15? Does that sound right to you?
Uh,
Y'all are
let's see,
quiet in Discord
one,
today.
two.
That can be a good thing. It depends on who. If it's mods, we don't want mod chat to be busy. That's never a good thing. Are you Miss Diane?
I am doing just fine.
I love this. In certain aspects, he may be smarter than the lawyer, but I think Welch's problem is that he doesn't like being made to feel like his integrity or work is being questioned. Good point. And when you're an expert, you know.
There's
and if you've been
18.
an expert
18.
witness, you know that the opposing side's going to shred you if they can. And they're doing a good job.
So there were 8, your records show that there were 18 VCH events recorded on Miss Reed's Lexus, correct?
Before the subject one.
Right. Did you conclude that any of those events, other than the 1162-2, were a collision?
No.
Now let's go to
Exactly.
reverse
Nope, they
recorded
still need it.
events. Can you tell how many of those 18 events were reverse recorded events? And you know what I mean by reverse recorded events?
Yes.
The vehicle going in reverse?
Right.
How many of those events were the vehicle going in reverse?
And this is before.
4. Other than
He asked
No,
you,
I said
is this before?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I would have to pull up the PCS file.
Can you start that and I can continue on with the questioning?
I got to. So the PCS file is I have a second laptop that
Here's
has
what I'm going to
texturing.
do. That's not important for me to keep going and get through it.
Okay.
So let's just stay on the events, okay? Only one of all of those events, those 18, are you concluding that there was a collision associated with them, correct? Just one.
No, all those 18 are before. The collision's number 19.
No, I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, but for all the other
I'll give you that.
events that are recorded, you're not, other than the January 29, 1162-2, you're not concluding that any of those were collisions, correct?
I didn't look at them. They were so far mileage away from everything.
But you're not concluding, even though they were so far away and you didn't look at them, you don't conclude from the information you have that any of them were a collision, correct?
Sustained.
Let's go to 5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022 at One Meadows, the home of Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay.
There was a collision between Ms. Reed's 6,000-pound Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's approximately 4,500 Chevy Traverse. That's undisputed, correct? They collided, they made contact.
They touched.
Right. But the actual collision at One Meadows did not register the recording of an event on the Lexus VCH system, did it?
Correct. Too minor.
So, however, you want this jury, sir, to conclude that the glancing blow that you contend occurred at 34 Fairview Road by the same 6,000-pound Lexus in contact with a mere 216-pound man did register an event on the Lexus, correct?
No, the impact didn't register the event. As I pointed out, the trigger was from when the accelerator pedal went to 30%. The tech stream does not register crashes at all. It registers excessive acceleration, excessive steering, excessive braking, things like that, things that would be part of the maintenance system. So the tech stream will never register an event, even if you hit a wall at 100 miles an hour necessarily. I mean, it'll cause fault codes and things like that, but that's not what it does. The trigger here was transitioning into reverse and then gunning the accelerator pedal in reverse. And so when it went from 30 up to 74% throttle, Once it went over 30 in that transition, that's what triggered the tech stream. It had nothing to do with, and that's why I'm telling you, I don't know when in that event the impact occurred, because the tech stream doesn't tell you that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Exactly my point. The tech stream information doesn't tell you when a collision occurs, does it?
Correct.
That's all the questions I have at this time, Your Honor.
All right, why don't we take our morning recess, James?
I go to answer the door. They go to a break. Let me get your voice on, Miss Diane. How you doing, Miss Diane?
I've been doing okay. Doing okay.
We are getting close to the end of the Commonwealth case. Just so
Well,
you know
said he finished.
that we're gonna what?
He said he finished all his questions.
Well, hold on. Just so you know that someone in the courthouse reports that the recess is over. Brennan asked, wait a minute. While waiting for the judge and jury, Welcher is back on the witness stand, munching on something and chatting with the court reporter. During the recess, Reed turns to her parents and says something, and both of them are stunned and appear to say, "What?" So now we're going to
About your
zoom. Now we're on redirect.
Good afternoon.
It's going to be
Good afternoon, Mr.
fun.
Brandon.
You were asked some questions.
Actually, it's morning, but yes.
You were asked some questions about the ring video from Meadows, which was John O'Keefe's home. And you were asked whether you're aware if the cameras had changed over time.
Correct.
The fact that the camera was replaced, does that any way affect your opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty about your conclusions relative to that touching between the cars?
Absolutely not. It would have shown up as increased error when we overlaid the point clouds onto the photos or the point clouds onto the video. If it was an error, it would have showed an error.
Do you have any concern whatsoever that any of the information from the scan is in any way tainted, compromised, or inadequate?
That would be very hard to do. You literally press a button and stand there and watch it, and the laser does its thing. So I have absolutely no reason to disbelieve it. Additionally, again, if it was messed up, once you laid it over on top of the photograph, it would show the difference. So no, the data's fine.
Is there any evidence whatsoever that you've seen that any parts of your presentation were photoshopped?
No.
You were asked questions about the suspension of the motor vehicle of the defendant's Lexus. Do you have any information that the suspension at any point was changed?
No.
Yesterday, you were asked a number of questions about formulas. You took out your calculator and you were asked about different variables. Were those variables hypotheticals or were they related to this specific case?
So they seemed hypothetical. Again, you have to be careful when you're talking about failure forces on biomechanical things. For example, if you impact the hand with a, say, 1-inch narrow metal bar,
We're going to
that's
this
a lot
again.
different than if you have a broad, say, plastic taillight or rear body panel. So when you have distributed loads, you can take much more. I told you guys about sitting on the bed, like how much you sink in. That's an example of spreading your load out. When you spread the load out, you don't sink in as much. So same thing with, forces on your body. If you take this pencil, I don't have to press very hard for it to pull in. But if I spread it out, I have to press much harder. So you have to look at the distribution of the load when you're talking about the failure. So when you look at the failure loads, it depends on what you're doing it with. If I hit you with a 5-pound 2x4 or a 5-pound pillow, they're both 5 pounds, but you'd much rather get hit by the pillow than the 2x4.
When you were asked questions about communications, when you would have communications with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, did you ever use encrypted apps to secretly hide your communications? Apps like Signal?
No, I don't have any of those.
So the form of the question, ask it differently.
When you were communicating with members of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, did you ever use encrypted apps like Signal to communicate?
I'm going to allow it.
No, I mean, I don't even know what that is.
Would you ever use an encrypted app so those communications couldn't be tracked?
No.
Would you ever have any reason as a professional for doing that?
Sustained.
You were asked about confirmation bias. You remember those questions?
I do.
Could I have slide 33 of your PowerPoint, please?
I'm sorry, what number?
Slide 33.
Give me a second.
You could zoom that in, please. A little larger so we can see it.
I cannot do it with one monitor.
You can't do it any closer than that?
Not since I took down. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Which part do you want me to zoom in?
Ms. Gilman can zoom in for you.
Sorry? Which part?
Ms. Gilman's going to do it for you.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
If you could zoom in, please. Okay. On shift position signal, going forward, then neutral and reverse, does that data suffer from confirmation bias?
No, that's strictly electronic data.
When we look over at the vehicle speed, can we go to the left a little bit? Down. Vehicle speed ending at 2361 miles per hour. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
No, again, these are direct readings from the vehicle. Again, that speed on this here, you have to correct for the slippage, which I do later on in the slide, but that is a direct reading from what the speedometer is seeing.
Acceleration at the end of that 10-second window, 74%. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
No, that's a direct reading of a sensor. That's objective information.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Wow.
Yay!
Anything, Mr. Lessie?
Your Honor.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Welcher, you were just asked questions about slide 33, which is a slide about text stream data. You acknowledge that text stream data, what you've called a trigger, like was on that slide, does not tell you if a collision even occurred, correct?
Correct.
You're right.
With
He's
regard
setting a
to the
parka.
topic of confirmation bias that you were just asked about in slide 33,
33. Am I correct that all of the questions that Attorney Brennan just asked you were about data on that slide, correct? All that's on that slide is data, correct?
Now, he asked me more questions than just this slide.
But were the questions just about data?
On this slide, it was just about data.
Correct. But confirmation bias is really aimed at opinions
Bingo
and
card.
conclusions and alternative hypotheses. Isn't that what confirmation bias gets at?
So generally, yes. Again, I started this case with
It was
the
just a question.
hypothesis.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
With the hypothesis that the Lexus didn't contact Mr. O'Keefe. And so I start what's called the null hypothesis, that this didn't happen. And then I look at evidence to either include or exclude the null hypothesis. So theoretically, my confirmational bias starts with a bias that it didn't happen.
Can you point to one?
How do you sign bias?
That shows that you analyzed whether there was no contact between the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe. Can you point to one document? Was there one document on your slide presentation, for example, that analyzed the null hypothesis, as you call it, there being no contact at all? Was there any slide in your direct testimony?
So remember what I said, we start with hypothesis, we get more data, we whittle down our hypothesis to the final answer. I mean, I had 130 slides. I suspect I bored some of these people to death already. So I didn't include everything. There's thousands of photographs in here. There was a bunch of testing I did with the Lexus about backing, pedestrian detection that, removed certain hypotheses. So if I was able to eliminate a hypothesis, I didn't present it here.
Sir, my question is not about you.
All the slides show that, to answer your question.
Sir, my question is there any slide that says alternative hypothesis to whatever the label is, whatever the term, it says no contact between the Lexus vehicle and Mr. O'Keefe? Is there any document that you presented to the jury that shows that?
Any document where those words are written on it?
Correct.
No.
And to work through hypotheses, different ones, and to see whether there's confirmation bias, have you heard of scientists refer that as showing your math, so to speak, in working through hypotheses, documenting each hypothesis and how and why you rejected them? Have you heard of that term in the scientific world, show your math with confirmation biases and alternative hypotheses? Just a question. Have you heard the idiom, the phrase, show your math?
Your question is, have I ever heard show your math, period?
Associated with the application of various hypotheses to avoid confirmation bias. Have you heard of that term used in that conjunction?
Not really in that context. It's probably, I understand where you're going with it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
No further questions.
Dr. Welcher, you were awesome.
Oh my God, thank you. Give me a minute to pack up and I will be out of here. Oh, I am plugged in, yes, thank you.
Oh, sunny day. He's glad to be off of this. He's been here for 2.5 days on the stand.
Thank you.
And we only have a half day. We only have about an hour left. No, 2 hours left.
I got the bingo. I got the bingo. Finally.
Well, let's look at the bingos because I've missed a few, I'm sure.
Math. And finish your answer. Sidebar.
Did we do center of mass? Did that one? I think he did. It's the center of mass.
Well,
I
then
think.
I have
I'm not sure.
bingo. And I think that's it.
It was witness 36.
Mr. Brennan?
Commonwealth moves to introduce and play clip 26.
Of course you do. I'm so sick of these clips. Just saying.
Yeah.
So I thought, could I have run him over? Did he try to get me as I was leaving and I didn't know it? I mean, I've always got the music blasting. It's snowing. I got the wipers going, the heater blasting. Did he come and hit the back of my car and I hit him in the knee and he's drunk and passed out and asphyxiated or something? And then when I hired David Yannetti, I asked him those questions the night of January 29th. Like, David, what if, I don't know, what if I ran his foot over or what if I clipped him in the knee and he passed out or went to care for himself and he threw up or passed out, and David said, yeah, then you have some element of culpability.
Is it a 207?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth rests.
We did it. We
Does
risked.
council want to see me?
We do, Your Honor.
Okay, so should we send the jury out or
Probably, yes.
so jurors, so everybody can sit. So jurors, the Commonwealth rests. That means that the Commonwealth's case has been presented to you for your consideration. So I need to meet with the lawyers for a few minutes, so we're going to send you back out. I can tell you that it now appears that we're at least on schedule, if not a little ahead of schedule. So we'll send you back out for a short recess.
Honey Bun just walked in here. He heard me yelling.
Right. Can council come to sidebar, please?
Finally, 23 days and they rest. And they did not rest well. That was not the best of resting. So
Have we questioned? So does that Commonwealth and defense both?
no, the defense is turned now. We're only
Oh.
halfway through trial.
Oh, Jiminy crickets.
They shouldn't take as long. They shouldn't take 23 days, but they can take longer if they want.
If they want to. Can you make your goat scream? Can you make your goat scream? I didn't hear
And
it.
I did see the judge twisting her glasses. I did see that.
Hey.
Okay, so trip, 3-point turn, center mass. No one answered me. I could have sworn I heard center mass.
Well, then we have Central.
Okay, let's just see what's happening in courtroom. Hold on.
You have no sound.
I know you're playing. Go. Oh, love you too, boo. I'm with you, Miss Diane. Bingo, 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 bingo.
Yes.
We may get a coverall. I don't know. If I think they're smart, they will end the day here. Start tomorrow fresh. with
Yeah, I would hope
with the
so.
defense.
I still got to do billing.
If that's the case, I'm going to go out today.
Have you found a dress yet? Have you looked?
Yes, I have. I have to
You've
buy a
looked?
second dress because the first dress needs a jacket or sleeves made for it. And I'm thinking instead of a sleeves, I think I'm just going to have like
A
a
bolero?
crop jacket made, but I have to buy the second dress.
Why? Oh,
But the dress was $299,
that's
so less than $700 for a wedding dress is very unheard of nowadays. The next dress that I tried on, the next cheapest dress that I tried on was $1,700.
whoa, ho, ho,
The
ho.
average wedding dress starts at 12 to 1,500. You can get them for less. But this one is I'll show you later, but it's something that is kind of boho-ish. Um, it doesn't go all the way to the floor, but it goes to my ankles, which is nice because I can have some cool shoes. It's got a spaghetti strap and it's sleeveless, and I ain't doing that.
Oh, I understand that. My grandson goes, Nana, you're so soft right here. He's 4. He goes, it's wibbly wobbly. I go, yes,
Yay!
that's Nana's for you, honey. At least
Yeah,
this
I
one.
ain't doing that. And this is a dress that I can wear again. It's got
Yeah.
a blush undertone with the white overlay with flowers.
Oh, it sounds lovely. Sounds just
I've thought about it, but my problem is finding something to cover my arms. Everything is sleeveless. And very rare can you find. And if you find with sleeves, they're made for pencil arms.
We don't have
Because
pencil arms.
Ronnie, I need someone to take the second dress to make a jacket to cover my flabby arms.
Flabby arm. I've always said that. You know what I can do? Look, let me show you. You can do this.
Oh
See,
no, ma'am. That's what.
if I have a
No,
flag tattoo,
but I
it
ain't
can
having
say
that
lovely
surgery.
it waves.
Oh God, stop it! Ew.
That's
I don't
what
like
my
looking at me.
But see, that's what my grandson says is wibbly wobbly. But if I have a flag tattooed, I can always say, long may she wave.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
No, not really. You know, if I can't make fun of me, who can? If I can't laugh at me. I do them exercises, but they not working.
Okay, I sent it to me. Oh, why you're welcome. And then I'm going to copy photo. I'm going to, for those of you who are in the mod chat, I'm going to copy photo
Okay.
and I'm going to put it in mod chat because that way my beloved
Then you
cannot
can see it.
see it.
Yay.
Diane, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It needs a jacket.
Mr. Trump has been sued for a second time over sign language access.
Okay, well, oh, I didn't want to go politics.
Well, I was just reading it. It just came up. Has been sued by NAD and for a second time over its failure to provide an American Sign Language ASL interpreter.
Oh, whoa, who put that funny face on my photo in mod chat? Oh, okay. Like I said, if you zoom in, you can see the back of my arms. See, they do that too. We are not. I felt frumpy in every dress. I hated almost all of them.
Oh, heck, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We're 2 away from a coverall.
I know.
So anyway, anybody who can sew a bolero. So we have to get a second dress so we can get the underskirt material and the lace to make me a covering.
Sounds lovely. Sounds lovely.
Diana, you have to type IBINGO.
I was
All
trying.
one word.
Where do I type it?
In comments on YouTube.
Comments on YouTube. Just a minute. Let me find YouTube. All right.
It's like I said, it was hard to find a dress. Everything I tried on was too bridally, and it made me look shorter and fatter. I was like,
Oh, come on. Do your thing. There it is. And this is day 23 in comments. All right.
no, Gerald, you just spelled it bungo.
Okay, come on. I can do this. I can.
No, I'm not a bridezilla, actually. I barely have anything planned. I'm worried that we may have to change the date. I already
Why?
am not a bridezilla. Hey, this chick has photographed over 200 weddings. Like hell am I going to be a bridezilla? Oh, I got you, case one.
Chat.
No, I'm not going to be a bridezilla.
IBINGO. I bingo. You want me to put times 7?
Nope.
Okay, just I bingo.
I will read this about Trump in a minute.
Gerald, I bingoed. Ooh, bunko is fun.
But no, I just feel broad as a house. I don't have a waist. I'm like straight up and down, and I want to look like, without looking, my shoulders looking like I feel like a football player in a dress is what I feel like.
Oh, I have this lovely hourglass figure. My hourglass just goes bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller. Because
I'm hoping that we make that date. It's going to be hard. A lot of things got to fall into place. We may have to push it back a month or so. We do have a honeymoon set. We got to be able to pay for that. I did get a somewhat of a bridal registry going on Amazon. I will start posting it next week. I've had a lot of you ask me, hey, a lot of you go, where's your wedding, your registry? So, not expecting anything, but I will. Why is my registry not coming up when I type my name? I can't find my own registry. There it is. Public. That's why. Okay. I got to add to it. Misa got to add some. But I'm working on it. August 9th.
Oh, that's right, because it's the day
2
before my
months.
birthday.
2 months from the wedding. Diane, do you think the dress is okay?
Tell me where you sent it to
I
me.
sent it to you in instant messenger.
I have to look on the phone because my thingy-jiggy don't work here. So let me see.
I was not feeling like anything looked good on me that day.
Oh, I think it's lovely. Open.
Really?
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
see where I want a jacket?
Sure.
Oh, yay. 2 months. And all we have is the church and the dress.
Right.
I got to buy a second dress Find somebody to make the jacket for me, which I think I know who that's going to be. I got to double check. The food, we already know what we're going to do. So it's just a matter of, honestly, it's going to be, we've got a couple things to work out before we get to that day.
I think that dress is quite lovely. What kind of flowers are you looking to carry? Hey, how old shall your sister be, Aaron? Oh, 38. I was 38 long time ago. Yep. Oh. Mm. Huh.
In other words, you open something up, you close the window
but didn't shut down.
All right, guys, I'm getting it back up and running. I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell happened. Nope, I'm not mad at you, babe. I'm mad at the computer. We're all good. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to get all this up and running again. Can you hear me, Diane?
Yes, I can.
Told me to, I had to click and totally end the entire thing. Sucks. So now I got to get all the bingo stuff back up. You guys may have to re-bingo. It's frustrating. I got to do it all over again. They don't have any sound yet in court. So let me get the giveaway. Hopefully it will catch you guys and I don't have to redo all this. Shouldn't have freaking done that. Okay, everybody, like again. It didn't catch you. Bingo. Put I bingo. Everybody do it all over again. I'm sorry. Nothing I can do about it. And I shared. Sorry. Either that or I just put everybody in. Everybody gets it.
Yay.
Everybody gets an entry.
Okay.
This is irritating. To no end. To no end. To have this happen. I have to reset it all. Wasn't Gerald's fault, but I don't know why it did it, but it did. It said I had 51 windows open and I did not.
It lied. It just lied. That's all.
So exasperating. Everybody say I liked, I shared, I bingoed. Come on, y'all.
Ah, bingoed.
Can't believe y'all are calling me a bridezilla. How rude.
I didn't.
No, not you over in my mod chat.
Oh.
What am I missing? Oh, I gotta make sure Facebook is still up and running.
Hey.
Court is in session. Please be seated.
All right, so jurors, we all, it happens several times a day, doesn't it? So we don't want to waste anybody's time. I know we've spent a lot of time at sidebar and we've had times that we've kept you in the deliberation room because we've been trying to sort through everything, trying to make this trial as efficient as possible, but also honoring and respecting all the hard work of the lawyers that's gone into preparing this trial. So sometimes I do understand that it's frustrating for you. But today we were able to spend some time this morning. I know we kept you in there almost half an hour and we've just spent some time now. So I can tell you that we are ahead of schedule right now. I still need to talk to the lawyers about something tomorrow morning. So we're going to send you home now and have you come back tomorrow morning at 9.
Had to schedule my butt when they said 3 weeks for the case in chief when we started.
30 because today I know we kept you until 9:30 and it doesn't make any sense where I already know I need to talk to the lawyers tomorrow morning to have you here for a 9 o'clock start. So tomorrow will be a full day and we'll have you here ready to start at 9:30. Okay, so those same cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. And also please continue to be careful with your social media use. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Rise for the jury.
23 days. 23 days, y'all. Not 20, 23 days of testimony. There you go, Diane. You got it. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh.
All right, so Ms. Little, if you can get me whatever you're going to get me within the next hour, so that would be great. And I'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 9
Thank you.
o'clock.
Hip, hip.
Liar,
hip.
liar, pants on fire. Where are my flying pants? I have
Pantalone.
flying pants. Here you go.
Pantalone. Oh, gee, I need a bigger box.
Oh, I know. I'm talking to them. I'm like 3 weeks. Case in chief. We're now in week, what, 7? I don't know. We've had vacay days and things in between. I'm kind of liking the chat being in this window like this when we don't have something else there. Kind of like this. Then I will remove the chat box. Okay, guys, we are done. Yay! Hopefully not that long. I hope not that long. Miss Diane, as always, thank you so much. Appreciate you having you. Go have a nice lunch. Go have a great day. Oh, let me New Hampshire to pay Harmony Montgomery's mother $2.25 million for a lawsuit accusing social worker of ignoring the signs of her ex-husband was abusing their daughter.
Whoa.
Wow. 40% of that goes to the attorneys.
Oh, yes, for sure, for sure.
I still got to work, so it can't be that great. Okay. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, let's get this up on the ball. Let's see. We only have 5 liked. We had 11 earlier. I'll give everybody a second to come in and put I liked. And here we'll do I shared. We'll get that going. The honey bun won.
Arrow.
He complained that he never wins. Okay, come on, guys. Everybody, we have 5 of you here playing bingo. I'm going to draw. I got you in there, Aaron. You're good. No. All right. He won. I'll draw again. Yay, Ronnie! All right, here goes the I like tool.
Yay! I win.
Oh, a friend of mine just became a grandmother again, but to a little girl. She already had a grandson. Congratulations.
So
on
girls are
becoming a grandmother.
to our little boys. Whoopee!
So, Facebook people, thank you guys so much for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. Miss Diane, I'm going to let you go. You be blessed, love. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I will, but I need to talk to you after everybody goes. I got a question for you.
I'll just drop you off the screen. I removed her. I got rid of her. I dumped her. She got officially dumped. No, just kidding. She did not. She's my love. So y'all, okay, so tomorrow morning we will start the case in chief for the defense. I can't wait. Let's see how Brennan does on cross. It's going to be interesting to see how he changes his tactics. This is going to be great. So once again, y'all, thank you for joining me. Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. All of you. We enjoy you. I'm going to actually go out and get some sun today. I need to get out of here. I'm going to get some sun today. So I'm excited. All right, guys. Defender of Faith, thank you for hopping in. Hop in tomorrow. We'll have a full day. If not, be part of the rewatch crew. Oh, yeah. Let's see how that changes. Let's see where that goes. All right, guys. Blessings. Be careful. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you in the morning. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I hope you have an awesome day. Till next time, take care.